Welcome, everyone, to Courageous Creative Conquerors. This is Jean Voice Dart. It's my belief that everyone has a gift of creative expression. We were born to express ourselves to stay healthy and happy. Whether you are planting a garden, writing a story, building a cabinet, sewing a scarf, or singing a song, what matters is expressing from the heart. And the creative and expressive arts are a healthy coping strategy that shifts us from trauma to triumph. So join me as we listen and learn key tips and techniques from our special guest and courageous creative conqueror. My special guest today is Heather Hancock, author, poet, and creative writer. Welcome, everyone. This is Courageous Creative Conquerors, and I'm Jean Voice Dart, and I'm here today with Heather Hancock. And she's going to share her journey to publishing a book that just came out this year. And hi, Heather. I'm just so happy to see you.
Hi, Jean. So happy to be here.
It's wonderful to have you. So we're just going to start off by looking at your life journey and as a creative person, and look at some pictures here. So just tell me what it was like. I know that you had a very different, amazing experience growing up, starting at birth. Tell us what happened.
I was born at 25 weeks gestation, weighing 1 pound, 6 ounces, at a time before the neonatal intensive care units were in existence. So they were not there and they were not available to help me. At that gestational age, I should not have been able to breathe by myself, but that was God's miracle because I was able to breathe by myself. So they put me in an incubator and told my parents to name me because I would die in 24 hours or less.
Wow.
They gave me 2% chance of survival.
Did you say 2%?
2%, yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So 55 years later, here am I.
Yes, there you are. And how did that affect you as a child?
I didn't develop like other babies developed, specifically movement wise. My movements were a little different. And by the time my brother was born 13 months later, I still wasn't walking.
Oh, okay.
And he starts to pull himself up on the furniture and I start to copy him. And that's when I started to fall over my feet. And so I get up and I try to take a step, trip over my other foot, and down I would go. So at the age of 2, I was diagnosed with spastic cerebral palsy.
And tell us what that means for those of us that don't know.
Spastic cerebral palsy is movement disorder. So it affects mostly the motor areas of the brain. So parts of the brain that, for me, it was just movement. So arms, legs, walking, that kind of thing. I walked up on tiptoe with my feet turned in, both of them, which is why I was falling over them.
Yeah.
At the age of 2, when they diagnosed me, they told my parents that I would never amount to anything, that I should be placed into an institution for the rest of my life because I would never walk, talk, feed myself, dress myself, that kind of thing. I would just be a vegetable for my life.
But that didn't happen. Your parents didn't put you in an institution, and applause to them.
My dad was like, heck no, that is not happening. So
yeah, yes. And so this is Courageous Creative Conquerors. So you're certainly courageous. And how were you creative? Did you love the creative arts? Was that something that was a safe place for you growing up?
I think, I mean, my first exposure to creative arts was to correct a vision problem that I had. I
Mhm.
was sent to a special school when I was not even potty trained yet. And all I remember is they made us play with light bright. I don't know if you remember light bright, but it was a peg thing that you put these pegs through cardboard and they would create a picture.
Oh,
Um,
yes,
yeah,
yeah. Mhm.
but it was to correct I had a spatial anomaly in my vision, so I would draw faces upside down, that kind of thing. So they were trying to correct the way that I was seeing things.
Mhm.
And all I remember is every time I did something right, I got a Smartie or a pretzel. But it must have sparked something in me. And then by the time I was 8, I mean, when I was 6, then they opened up the library at school. I thought I'd gone to heaven. I could have just lived in a library and been happy.
Oh, you found your place, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, because reading opened up worlds, like books or worlds to me. And so
Yes.
I just spent hours and hours with my nose in a book. I was complete bookworm.
And so your mother and father were very supportive of you, and you have one sibling, is that right? Or do you have more?
No, I have one sibling that I grew up with, my younger brother.
Yes.
And then I have another brother in England, and we'll get to his story in a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but so yeah, so by the age of 8, I decided to start writing a sci-fi novel on
Wow.
yellow foolscap in pencil. And my mom thought that was just child scribbling, so she threw it out.
She
All 5
did.
chapters.
Oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
all 5 chapters went in the garbage.
Yeah.
That was funny. So yeah, and then I think I didn't write again until I was probably 13.
Mm.
And when
Well,
I was
let's take a
13,
look at a
okay,
picture of you with your father here.
yeah.
All right, so tell me about this picture here.
Well, this is me and my dad. I'm about 13 or 14 um, at the time, and I think we are showing my mom's pen pal's son who visited us, Stuart, around Victoria, and this is out in a parking lot, I think, or
So
maybe
you
it's in
you
our
live in
neighbor.
Canada.
I live in Canada. That's correct.
Uh-huh. You grew up there.
Yeah,
And it
this is
looks like you're not having any major problems standing up there, but are you
no,
supported?
no, I am not supported. I actually walked independently until I was 29.
Oh.
So, yeah, after all the surgeries and the therapies and stuff, yeah, I was able to walk independently.
How many surgeries did you have?
Well, they stretched my Achilles tendons, both of them at the same time when I was 3, then again at 7. And then I had 2 knee surgeries in my teens. And then when I was 18, the kneecap dislocated. And then I had another one there and another one 2 years later. All the same surgeon, and he was trying to do the same thing every time, and it just didn't work. So
Oh,
my knees haven't been the same since.
that is such a different journey than most teenagers there. Yeah. And
Yeah.
was it, did you get along all right in school? What happened? You,
School was an adventure.
yeah.
Part of the joys of being born at the time I was, as most disabled children were in special schools and not in public schools.
Uh-huh.
So my father took it upon himself to fight the Calgary School Board to have me be the first child mainstreamed into Calgary.
Yeah,
So
that was a
yeah,
long time coming, getting,
it was.
and there's pros and cons about that.
Yeah, it was great for my education, not so good for my social life.
Yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
it can be damaging, emotionally difficult.
Yeah, well, growing
Yeah.
up with a disability, especially when you're young, you spend a lot of hours in therapy and a lot of hours with other disabled kids.
Uh-huh.
And they may have different disabilities than you do. So it's interesting in that dynamic, even in the hospitals when you're having surgeries and things. The kids, the disabled kids that I was with, we would be very quick in assessing what everybody could do, and then everybody would pitch in to help. And so
Oh,
somebody would help me with mobility, and I'd help somebody, who couldn't see, or I'd help somebody who couldn't hear, or whatever.
yes. Yeah,
Um,
that's wonderful.
yeah.
So,
So
again, courageous, creative conquerors. What do you think? Let me ask you, what did you learn from this journey that wasn't the easiest journey, but certainly we all have
mhm,
challenges in life. All of us have our burdens to bear. So, what
yeah.
do you think was a blessing or gift from this journey that you had from childhood now to adulthood, thrown in with kids that maybe didn't understand and growing up with these surgeries and challenges? What did you learn? What was the greatest gift?
Patience
Patience. Yeah.
and the ability to observe others, and I'm pretty much an empath, so I can read a room and pick up on people's emotions pretty quickly. So
I understand that. Yeah.
yeah,
So you feel that maybe are you HSP, highly sensitive person?
I think I would be termed that. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, often people who are challenged with physical or emotional other challenges, then their sensitivities heighten in other areas, I find.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So no, when you're the kid who can't play like everybody else does, you do a lot of watching,
Mm,
and you learn a lot by watching. So, and it's still something that I do. I'll observe before I'll speak, usually in a group setting.
yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful. Okay, so let's move forward to adulthood here. Now we have some pictures of you getting married. What happened from graduating from high school and then leading up to meeting the love of your life here?
Um, I think it was graduating high school was a big milestone because it was such a struggle. Not scholastically, not academically. I graduated with honors, but I was bullied from grade kindergarten through grade 12.
Uh-huh.
So that kind of daily barrage is difficult to deal with. Um, and so at the age of 14, I was suicidal, and God ran to me at that point and saved me. Sent a singer to my school, and it was quite amazing how that all turned out. But yeah, so that was a turning point for me.
I'm so sorry to hear that, but I'm glad you're mentioning it because there are
Mhm,
other people out there that need to hear that and
yeah.
how you got out of it.
So you get told things often enough, you start to believe them, don't you?
Yes. Yeah.
And my mom wasn't very supportive at home, so she was unfortunately a narcissistic abuser. So um, home was not a safe place unless dad was in it.
Oh my goodness. So you had your plate full of challenges.
Yeah.
It sounds like maybe you learned a little bit more than patience. You really
Yeah.
learned how to rise up above that and love yourself and find your purpose and passion in life. So,
Like I said, when I was 14, I was suicidal. So once I realized the God of the universe loved me, um, then it didn't matter what people said because
yeah.
my creator loves me.
Oh, that makes me cry. I
Uh,
feel the same way. Yeah,
yeah.
when we go through these, and I went through a journey of abuse also, and struggles and physical challenges. We go through these things, like you say, you can get this attitude and start believing that you're
Mhm.
not worth anything, and uh,
Right.
but knowing that God's love is there, uh, it doesn't matter. None of that matters.
Mm-mm.
So tell me, how
Eventually,
did you meet your husband?
at church. Yeah, that's the
Oh,
short answer. I
yeah.
was going to a house church in my 30s. By that point, I'd been through nursing school, given that up, and then because my legs gave out, and then retrained and ended up working in healthcare on the other side, administrative side, for 22 years. So I was still working at Royal Jubilee Hospital in an outpatient clinic, and attending a house church. So one summer day, Jeff walked in and
Yeah.
sat down, and the pastor there was like, "Oh, Heather, you and Jeff have something in common. You both write poetry." And that intrigued me simply because I'd never met a male poet. Everybody I'd interacted with on poetry levels was female. So that was intriguing. So yeah, we just kind of went from there and built a really good, solid friendship over the next
Mm-hmm.
3 years. And then God blindsided both of us.
Yeah, yeah.
Shifted.
Oh,
So
what a beautiful story.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
let's look at your photos with him here.
that is. I'm actually standing with my brother Colin there.
Yeah.
He walked me down the aisle because my dad had passed away 6 months before we got married.
Oh, yes. But
Yeah.
I look at your face though. You're just like
Mhm.
ready and in bliss there. That's your yeah.
Yeah.
What a
Yeah.
joyful
He
day.
wasn't so much in bliss. He was
He doesn't.
struggling.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
are. Yeah. He looks
Well,
like he's being the big brother and protecting you there with his arm around you.
yeah, he's the younger brother,
Oh,
but
younger brother. Well,
yeah,
he's being the
he's
brother.
taller than I am.
He's being the brother. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we're waiting for the music to start, and I had to find another way to carry my bouquet. So we decided my walker would do
Very
that.
handy there. That, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And there you are there. Oh, look at that.
Yeah. That's at the end of the ceremony with us walking out as a married couple. So yeah, it's my husband Jeff, and that's me.
Well, you look like you're ready to dance there. You look very happy. Yeah.
Not so much, but
Okay, so now we're going to jump forward and talk, in the time that we have left about how you shifted from just being a poet and poetry writer to actually publishing your book this year. And did you
yeah,
say in February or March? Was it
March 1st it came out. Yeah.
March 1st? Okay. How you shifted and why writing this book became important to you and what it's about. So that I see behind you the painting or picture that is on the cover of the book.
I'll just angle up for a sec so
Yes.
viewers can see it.
So tell us how you shifted into writing a book.
Well, going back to the pictures of my wedding, in January of 2012, which was a month before the wedding, back spasms took me off work. They actually made me unable to walk. So we had planned our whole wedding with Jeff carrying me down the aisle. And then
Oh,
praise God, they
yeah.
stopped 2 weeks before my wedding.
Wow.
So I
Okay.
was able to walk down, which was a big victory and celebration. Um, However, I was not able to return to work.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up going on long-term disability, which is the benefit that I paid into for that many years. And I'm still on long-term disability. But I can't sit at home and do nothing. So I decided to, there was an opportunity that came to be a contributing writer at Coffee House Writers. It's an e-magazine online.
Hmm.
So I started that in 2019 and really just fell in love with the whole writing process. And then I led something called Writing Sprints. I don't know if you've heard of that, but
Mm-hmm.
short sprints, 15 minutes, you've got to write and then you share. And that's how Claire popped up onto my paper or my screen, I should say. I don't handwrite anymore, but yeah, she appeared on my screen during a writing sprint. And then I decided they were doing an anthology for Coffee House Writers. So I decided to do the backstory with Claire and her mom, because her mom is very narcissistic and abusive, somewhat like mine, but it's just a composite character. So it incorporated behaviors that my mom didn't have. But
Mm-hmm.
so I did that, and I thought I was done with Claire's story. But Claire wouldn't leave me alone.
Oh, okay.
So I started to outline for a book because a couple people at Coffee House Order said, just do an outline for a book, and we think it's good for a book. So I did the outline, and then other characters started to pop up in my mind, and before I knew it, I had 49. Actually, I think I had 45 chapters.
Let's take a look at you and look at your book here. We'd love for you, while we're looking at your book here, to read a little bit from your book, and not necessarily the back cover, but
No.
just a little share from your book
Sure.
there. Okay.
Claire blinked and read it over again. She couldn't believe her eyes, so she removed the wallet-sized birth certificate from her purse. No, she wasn't seeing things. The two names were different. Her birth name on the smaller one was Claire Agnes Langstrom, and her father was Chester Alfred Langstrom. Austin was watching her when she finally looked up. Are you okay? No, what does this mean? My wallet-sized birth certificate has my real last name and my actual father's name, but this original copy has to be a fake because those names are different. Those are two questions we need to find the answers to, and your grandmother knew that, Austin said. From a legal standpoint, what can we do? Don't rush ahead. I need a lot more information before I can make any professional recommendation in terms of legal proceedings. Does that make sense? Claire sat staring at her hands while she pondered everything and regained control of her emotions. What if her dad wasn't her biological father? She'd never doubted her dad's love for her, and he died so young. God, what are you doing? Yes, but I have more questions now than I did before we arrived here tonight. She chose her words carefully. I'm afraid of what we might uncover, yet we're too far down the rabbit hole to go back. Bernard brought the bill, and Austin paid it while Claire continued to process. She didn't notice when he got up and walked around the table to pull her chair out. I agree that the lies and secrets seem to go deeper than we expected. Remember, this quest will uncover the truth, no matter where the rabbit hole takes us. Plus, I think you make a beautiful Alice.
Oh, I love that. You make a beautiful Alice. And look at that book cover there.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
That was actually painted by a Saskatchewan artist friend of mine, Jeff Phillips.
Yes.
He did the full size canvas behind me and made the
Yes.
JPEG for the cover.
Mm.
So that was a blessing.
And in your reading, you're sharing emotions that all of us have had in some way or another, of feeling that doubt or anger. How could this happen? These are feelings that are naturally human, and I think many people can relate to, wonder and wanting to feel family and feel at home and feeling lost or separated from that. Now, tell me, looking at Claire, what qualities of her do you relate to and see in yourself?
Well, I relate to her work ethic as a nurse because I was like that as a student nurse.
Yes.
I relate to the fact she's an introvert, loves books, and she has a library in her. She turned one of her spare bedrooms into a library, which is something I always dreamed of. So
Yeah.
she did it and has the library in her condo. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
She is, she went through abuse as a child, and she's really trying to find herself now that she's an adult. But a bequest in her grandmother's will kind of is the catalyst that forces her on this journey that's a bit of a roller coaster ride with unexpected twists and turns, as she navigates through the lies that she's believed her whole life and finds out what the truth actually is. So
yes, and all of us are on that quest to find truth in life in some way or another, aren't we? Yeah. So what is ahead for you in the future, Heather? Do you have another book that you're writing right now?
Well, I'm not working on a fiction book right now. I've got lots and lots of poems that I want to get organized into a book of poetry. That's then the next project. But I have had some feedback where people are saying they want the second chapter in Clara's world, so to speak.
Oh, okay.
They don't think the story should quite end the way it did.
Yeah, okay, very good.
So down the future, I will re-enter Clara's world, but I need a bit of a break right now.
That makes sense. You know, and I love when you pop into our creative community calls and share, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that you mentioned the poetry.
Yeah.
And could you read a short poem for us? Because that is just such a different thing. I mean, I'll give you a moment to find that. We can stop the video and come back in. But the poetry is just so different from this book. And
Yeah.
I love your poetry.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll do a short one.
Okay.
This one's called Fire Within. Flames of orange and red flicker, twist, and dip in a mysterious counterpoint dance. Tiptoeing on edge as music orchestrates in staccato fashion, crackles, pops, and snaps punctuate the ancient dance, mesmerizing human eyes. Flames reflected upon corneal lenses refract, firestorm inside. Shattered hearts bearing deeply seared scars borne by the betrayed, trust in a million sparks, trauma, blames, and shames, countered by blazing light. Hope extinguishes despair.
Wow. Okay. That really touched me. I'm about ready to start bawling here. Yeah, that is so different, so colorful, and so artistically painted with words. It's beautiful. I love it. Thank you.
Well, the way behind that poem was I had the concept of a person staring at the fire. So that's the first stanza.
Yes, but it's so emotional, so
Then you
evocative.
see, if you've ever watched somebody watching fire, you can see the flames dancing in their corneas, right? But people often get very introspective while they stare into the fire. So that's the second stanza.
Yeah, but there's a lot more to it.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of pain and love
Yeah.
and passion and things coming out of there. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you. Wonderful. Yeah, definitely. I would love for you to publish a book of poems. That's exciting. I'm excited for you. We're going to look for you in the future and support you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. So before we end, if you could share some tips for other creatives, maybe who have had a similar journey of feeling they're not worthy, doubting themselves, maybe they were bullied or maybe not. Just general anxiety that we all have about taking that next step and getting published, or if they're a musician or dancer or whoever they are, taking that next step to share their creative efforts with others. Do you have any tips?
Sure. I think what I would say is we all have a story to tell, whether you tell it in words that are written on a page, or whether you tell it in the bars of a song or in the paintbrush strokes of a painting. It doesn't matter. But you need to tell your story because you're the only one who can, because you lived it. And there is healing in doing that. There is freedom in doing that. And you can help others that are in the same situation you've been in navigate their way out of it as well.
Beautifully said. Yay.
Thank you.
Listen to Heather, everybody. Listen to her. You can do it. Yeah, and you have a story to tell.
Yes.
Thank you, Heather. It's been a
welcome.
joy to have you here, and thank you, everybody here watching, for supporting the creative arts And we encourage you to be a courageous, creative conqueror yourself. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
To see more Courageous Creative Conquerors videos, join the weekly Creative Community calls, or learn more about private sessions, visit jeanvoicedart.com.